I will say that there are those who profess to be elevating of others within their space, being collaborative and lift up, because what is it? Rising ships, something all tides. I don't even know, but you get what I'm saying. Then there are those who really don't just say it, but live by it. And that is this week's guest. Rachel Kelly is absolutely a phenomenal woman. When I was in Toronto, I looked her up and she had this business which was similar to the one that I was trying to structure and create. So I called her up, we connected, and she is one of the greatest mentors that I ever had when it comes to creating Dandelion-Inc. Because she truly lives by her words in scaling and growing other women in business, and even those that share the same space as her. She's a beautiful human being. Tune in, listen to her story, get inspired, take the ideas of what she's done to scale and grow her business, and watch yourself thrive. Welcome to The Seed, cultivating growth and empowering women in business, brought to you by Dandelion-Inc. I'm your host, Lisa Resnick, and this podcast is all about connecting, developing, and supporting women in business. Join me as we explore tips and insights on leadership, business development, and social media strategies that can help you thrive. We'll also hear from amazing guests who share their stories and experiences, offering inspiration and practical advice for your entrepreneurial journey. So tune in, download, like, and subscribe. And remember, if you love what you hear, share it with others. Together, let's cultivate growth and empower women in business. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's pod episode, The Seed. I am here with Rachel Kelly. Now, y'all may know who she is. I know her, though, from a trip to Toronto. And then I'm going to let her take it from there because her bio is absolutely extraordinary. I love it. But it was a random chance. I went to Toronto and I started researching other companies like the one that I wanted to create. And lo and behold, Lemonade popped up, and so did Rachel. And our relationship began. I gave you a shout. You're like, I'm here. And you really did. And I've said this to you before. I still have everything that you gave me with your advice. And it is still by far the best advice I have been given by anyone
Wow.
in this field. I mean,
Wow.
you were real. You were real with like these are the mistakes that I made that I wish I incorporated at the beginning. These like the forethought of like I'll never even forget the furniture conversation of you, of you being like, you know what? You don't need to spend that much money on the furniture. Like
hmm
there are things that you can do that don't cost a lot, that we have a tendency to want
hmm
the bells and whistles. We want to showcase everything and we want to do it right from the get-go instead of scaling up from there. Like, see, I remember. I remember.
I love that. Wow. Thank you so much for that intro. And I'm glad to hear that my advice tops it all. My ego is feeling great right now.
Good, good. So tell everybody out there your journey with Lemonade, how you got there, and then where you are
hmm
now, because I love it. I absolutely love that your openness, your creativity, everything that you did, and making sure that at the end of the day, you are aligned with your passions.
Mm. Oh, thank you so much. So I guess to go back, rewind, I mean, about 8 years ago, or even more now, it was in 2016. I was freelancing. I live in Toronto and I was working for a handful of different clients doing I was a Jill of all trades, like You pay me to do it. I'll Google it and figure it
Wait,
out.
time out. Did you just say Jill of all trades?
Yes, yes.
That's amazing. I
I
love
know.
that.
I can't take credit for it. Someone else came up with it and I adopted it. But a lot of it was, to do with some content writing, helping create some social media way back before social media is what it is today. Um, and long story short, I had a job offer. One of the clients offered me a full-time position, and I quit all my other client contracts and said, "Yep, I'm going to go full-time with this other company." Uh, it didn't end up panning out. It was the lemon that started it all. It was the record rip in my life at the time. But obviously in hindsight, it was what I needed. It obviously turned out to be something better than I could have expected. But during that time, I thought I've always wanted to create something for myself. I've had this idea for a co-working space. I think I'm going to go after it. And so that was in October of 2016 and September 2017. I opened the doors to Make Lemonade. It was a co-working space for women in business, one of very few in Toronto. And I knew I wanted to have this physical space where people could meet. This was around the time that the book Girl Boss had just come out. It was about a year
Yes.
prior. And I had noticed there was a lot of online communities for women in business. But I was like, I want to see these people in real life. And, speaking of lessons and things I could have done, maybe opening a physical co-working space wasn't the way to go, but it was what I decided to do. And I opened a co-working space.
But what I love about this co-working space, because remember, originally I was all about doing the co-working space as well. And then I
Mm-hmm.
adapted. I mean, granted, like when I launched Dandelion-Inc., it was during the pandemic. So it
Mm-hmm.
was like I, no matter what, was veering towards the virtual first
Yeah.
before getting together. And I do
Mm-hmm.
believe in a healthy balance between the two. But what I loved about your co-working space is, at the end of the day, you still have people, even extroverts out there, that aren't the
Mm-hmm.
best at meeting new people.
Mm-hmm.
And how you created this way, incorporating the name of the co-work space and having people like go through and then meet one another.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely
Mm-hmm.
love that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was, I would say, a lot of trial and error. And I think the thing that I learned at the beginning, or not at the beginning, I should say maybe a couple months into things, was that I was building a community because, I kind of got lost in the sauce of wanting to find a space, build a space. I got so fixated on building this perfect, beautiful space that I almost forgot about, okay, what was the point of all of this? And then I had
Hmm.
to be reminded, okay, this is about a community. So flash forward a couple of years, the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh my gosh, like overnight, my entire business model does not make sense anymore. And so within like a week or two, we were up and running with our kind of Make Lemonade 2.0, our online program, which we thought, okay, this is going to be a 2 week thing. Okay, COVID's lasting. This is going to be another 2 week thing. And then we turned it into a virtual membership for co-working, which was very cool because we had people joining us from all over North America. Uh, and it got to a point at the beginning of 2021, I thought, looking at the numbers, going, things still aren't really changing. I'm paying so much on rent for this physical co-working space, and I've got this online community that's working really well. I wonder if I took the physical co-working space out of the equation, what would things look like? And obviously, the numbers were a lot happier. That felt relieving to me. And it took me about 10 months to find a subtenant to cover the last year and a half of my lease. It wasn't the kind of thing I could just say, okay, I'm out. It's not the
I
way business
know.
works.
But listen to all those people who are still like looking to have a brick and mortar location.
Hmm.
I think that is really good advice is to make sure before you sign the dotted line of that lease that God forbid anything happen, shifts in direction of what your company is going to be, having that sublease ability. Like,
Yes.
yes, of course, a lot of times there's approval by the landlord, but the ability for you to sublease, you want to make sure
Hmm.
that language is in there.
It's so true. And I think I'm so grateful that I had a lot of people in my corner. I had a great lawyer, and my parents are entrepreneurs as well. So I had a lot of other adults
Yes.
who were making sure whatever I was signing was something that um, wasn't going to keep me stuck wherever I was. And that was something I remember when I went to sign the lease, the 5-year lease. I did two things. I calculated how old I was going to be when the lease was over because I started when I was 26, which it's a baby. I was a baby
Yep.
when I started. But I also told myself, understanding, of course, what I was agreeing to was that I could always change. And that was something that gave me some confidence to move forward. And I said, okay, yes, things could be complicated, but it's not impossible to get out of this. And that was, and I, those are the kind of things you tell yourself that you never think you're actually going to have to pull
I know.
from. But it saved me. And so I sublet the space and said we're going to go fully virtual. This co-working thing online is working really well. Let's move forward with it. And within a couple of months, so we closed the space in September of 2021. Within a couple months, it was like, this ain't it. This ain't
Yeah.
it. And it was the worst feeling to realize I worked so hard to, okay, not only open the co-working space, transition it into a thriving online community, and realize I'm not happy with this anymore. And I still have debts to repay. I still have to pay
Mhm.
myself. There's other responsibilities. So even though I can say I don't like it, I still have to pay for all the things I don't like.
Yeah,
Um,
unfortunately, that's the adulting portion that none of us like.
Yeah. So it was a huge wrestling with my own personal identity. Who am I as a business owner? How do I want to move forward? I was really lucky that the industry of floristry is very approachable. So the way that came to be was it was around the time I was closing the space. I had read an article in a magazine about a woman who quit her job in corporate banking to become a florist. And it stuck with me. And during this time of transition, of feeling like I'm not satisfied where I am, and also growing more and more envious of the other members in my community of all their cool businesses and the creativity they got to do. And I was finding I'm so envious of I don't get to be creative. I get to just be the ringleader of
Yeah, you're the
everybody.
manager. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I decided I'm going to take a floristry class just for fun. So I took one workshop. I loved it. I took a second workshop. I loved it. I decided, you know what? Let's sign up for floristry school. It was 4 Saturdays in a row in the spring of 2022. It was still some money. It wasn't still like just nothing money. But I thought the worst thing that comes out of it is I learned some more about floristry. And I fell in love with it, and I thought I could probably make this into a business. I could probably transition this way. And the things that built my confidence on all of this was telling my community about the things I was learning and about the transition I was going. And, the irony of all of this was the kind of advice that I was sharing with my community is, when you are learning something in your business and you have something going on, tell your community about it and they'll be more interested in the services you have. So I was like, uh-oh, I got to be honest about what's going on in my life and my
Yes.
business. And so yeah, so one thing led to another, and I realized I want to close the online community. I want to be a full-time florist. I took another year to actually make that transition, and that was very helpful. I actually had a partnership and a couple of agreements that actually held me within that year long term, and that saved me. So instead of just going, I'm canceling my online community and I'm now going to be a florist, it helped me have a bit of stability to still have my online community and use my weekends for floristry. And yeah, a year later, I went full time as a florist.
Now let's talk about some of the clients you've been able to nab from this. So for anybody
Mhm.
is like, so she's putting flower arrangements together and that's about it. There is so much more to this. And
Mm,
I want you to tell people who your clients are.
yeah, it's been actually so wild to think about that.
It's
Uh,
crazy. That's amazing. I mean, that
thank
alone,
you.
anytime you're down in the dumps, look at that
Mhm.
list.
Thank you. So I would say off the top of my head, some of the more like impressive, exciting clients. Number one is definitely Netflix and Bridgerton. I got to do some of their premieres that have happened in Toronto. I've worked with Amazon and Prada and Balenciaga, to name a few. What else? Activia Yogurt, which actually was one of my most favorite briefs to date because everything was inspired by guts. So it was very cool. And I would say to anybody, like, I didn't email netflix.com. The way that these clients have come to me is kind of a few different things. One, when I was transitioning my website into a from co-working to floristry, and that's actually another side note, is I realized I had built such an amazing community and network through the brand name Make Lemonade. It was like, I'm not starting over again and starting a new floristry business. We're transitioning and we're bringing everybody along on the journey. So one of the ways that I've made, worked with these amazing clients is either through referrals, and people have put my name forward or said my name in rooms that I'm not. And the other way is I just kind of was a little bit silly and threw caution to the wind and just talked about my dreams on my website. And the Netflix thing came from me putting on my website. I literally said, whether you are Netflix planning for a 200 person premiere or your Roots Canada, doing XYZ, like I'm the girl for you. And Netflix reached out to me. They said they found me through Google and they said my website literally spoke to them.
Oh, hey,
So
hey, SEO.
yeah. Yes, exactly. And that was a huge thing. And I think I had learned so much about my business and running a business since opening it in 2017. Um, it was so refreshing to kind of go, wow, I get a chance to do over. And instead of just starting a new website from scratch, because I did ask for some advice from some other web and SEO experts, does it make more sense to start over? Because we're talking a lot about co-working, or do I just kind of build on what I have? And thankfully I have built such a fantastic relationship and reputation from what I had done before. It was nice to learn, okay, I can just continue to build on this.
I mean, that's what I did when it came to this podcast. So this
Mm-hmm.
podcast was originally Homes and Hops. So
Mm-hmm.
this is when I was full on as a real estate agent broker in our community. And it is a fact that if there's a brewery located nearby your neighborhood, your values of your home does increase because of the community focus that breweries often are.
That's
So
cool.
so that's what the podcast was about. That was how I could establish myself in an area that had no clue who I was anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it
Mm-hmm.
did. It helped me scale and grow. So when I transferred over and did a shift similar to you and like created Dandelion-Inc. and really wanted to hone in on that community, which I could not agree more with you. Community is everything, and the reciprocity and the fact that you have led us continuously through your journey has
Mm-hmm.
been, it's amazing because nobody wants you to drop off. Everybody wants to still be part of it and part of this transition with you. But with that, when I switched off to the Seed podcast, I kept my homes and hops and just
Mm-hmm.
built off of from there.
Mm-hmm.
And then there, I'm not starting my pod from,
Yeah.
so I had my subscribership already that just kept growing from there with the seed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really makes so much sense. It's like you've already done all of this work. You've already built a great reputation. People know you as delivering a good service. In fact, I booked my very first wedding. She was a co-working client of mine, a member, and she had booked with me before I had shown a single photo of any of the floristry work I had done, because she had trusted me as someone who could deliver a good service. Obviously, having a beautiful co-working space didn't hurt. So she knew, okay, I've got some taste in what looks good and what doesn't look good. But I just find like I've found this journey so fascinating to understand that it really is about maintaining great relationships with past and new clients and people who enter your orbit.
I completely agree. And I say to people all the time when I'm in conversations with them, and I ask them, well, have you spoken to so and so? Because I remember in their past them mentioning them. And they would say, oh, it's been years. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. If I haven't
Hmm.
spoken to somebody for years and they reached out, and I'm sure you would agree, you don't shut the door. You're like, oh,
Mm-mm.
hey, no, let's talk.
Yeah. How are you? It's been so long.
I
What's
know.
new?
Nobody's gonna be like,
Mm.
"Oh, you haven't kept up with me, so I'm not speaking to
Hmm.
you." That's a
Hmm.
very rare occasion, and I doubt that those people are in your mind Rolodex to begin with to even
Mm-mm.
think about reaching out to anyway.
Mm-mm. 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 Yeah.
But with that, so your community is still thriving and they're still getting your
Hmm.
back, and it's nice that you're getting back a lot from them when it comes to your floral. What's your
Hmm.
most exciting? What's your most exciting floral that you like went out and did? And what was your most
Mm.
petrifying?
Oh my goodness. Um, I don't know. Okay, exciting. You know what I will say? It's so interesting. Like I've worked with a lot of really cool, flashy brands, but there's obviously a lot of, head scratcher, stressful stories that can come with that sometimes too. So I do say a lot to friends and family. Sometimes the quote unquote boring brands are the best people to work with because they always pay on time. They always just like they know what they want and it's a little bit less
Probably a
fuss.
smaller contract too.
Yeah, but although sometimes they're bigger too.
Oh,
And
really?
definitely. However, I would say actually one of the most exciting projects I did, and I want to do something like this again this year, is it was in my like first couple of months of floristry, and I didn't really have anything to show for myself. And I wanted to show some cool design work that I was capable of doing and proving to myself I could do it too. So I reached out to a friend who has had a shop on Ossington. Ossington is a very cool strip down in Toronto. Lots of cool shops, lots of cool people passing by. I asked her, could I use the front porch of your shop for a weekend to do a floral display? I have a cute orange bicycle. I want to do something fun here. It's not going to cost a single dime for you. I just want it'll be a fun way for your clients to be attracted to your store and you're going to get something beautiful. And the thing that was like so exciting and fun about this was that I got to come up with a design. I set myself with a limit. I said, I'm only spending $200 and I'm doing this thing. And I just want to show this is what I can do. I learned so much from this project just on its own. If I were to do it again today, I would, change so many other things. And I remember setting it up. It took me all day. Now I could probably do it in an hour. Just that's what experience gives you.
Yes.
But the coolest thing about that was that it was just about getting some images and showing what I could do. A year and a half later, I ended up getting a contract from Volvo because of that project that I had done. That was the project that was referenced. And if I hadn't done this thing just for myself, who knows if they would have found me.
I think that that is a lesson a lot of entrepreneurs need to hear because I think that we
Hmm.
grapple a lot when we're starting off our businesses about our value and
Hmm.
not doing anything for less than what we would deserve, which is
Hmm.
uber important to have that mindset.
Hmm.
However, when you're first starting out, there is nothing wrong at all with doing things at a very low cost to
Hmm.
get yourself out there because the payback from doing that, just like with what you did, is so much more.
And it was such a like it really opened my eyes because when I started that, I didn't think, oh, let's imagine all the cool brands that are going to come my
No,
way and flood my inbox. I was just like, I just want to show some cool stuff that I can do. That was it. And it felt very limitless and kind of innocent and playful to do it. And that's actually why this year in 2025, the word play is my word of the
Oh,
year.
I love it.
Because I feel like since getting into floristry, it's been about 2.5 years now. I feel like I've really done a lot of work for the contract for the client. This is what they want. I'm helping them execute their vision. And I need to remind myself that this is my business. The reason I do it is to be able to be creative and playful. And of course, now I understand there is benefit to doing this too. Good opportunities can lead my way, but
Yes.
understanding sometimes this is part of the long game too.
Oh, you definitely don't want to burn yourself out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people and Gary Vee is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly he is. I mean, he has the proof behind the pudding, but like
Mm-hmm.
and he does. He talks all the time about like working like 24 hours a day, like do
Mm-hmm.
like on the grind all the time, but the reality is not everybody functions that way. And there
Mm-hmm.
is still a lot of good that comes from a lot of people who don't function that way. And the last thing that we want to do is burn those good people out and take
Yeah.
like that they are like, listen, I'm done. I'm at a stalemate. My creativity is lost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think like there's something to be said about the 24 hours working 24 hours and understanding that each hour of, let's say, an entire week or a month is built differently too. So sometimes it is about sending those emails and quote unquote doing some more of the grind, whereas other times, other parts of your business are more about what is rejuvenating yourself too. Whatever kind of business you're in, you do need some sort of rest and recovery that's going to help you do something that allows you to execute on um, a better scale, a more efficient way. A book that really changed my life last year was called 10x is easier than
Oh, yes.
2x.
Yes.
Love it. Love it.
It is such a great book. And I really
Hmm.
love the whole measuring the gap. And I think I reference
Yeah.
that a lot when it
Yeah.
comes to like my social media posts, when I have my one-on-one conversations, is we have a tendency to be so down on ourselves because we are not measuring the gap in the right way.
Yes. And that book also really helped me. It was like a huge permission slip to recover and take care of
Hmm.
myself in the ways that I knew I needed to. Coming from I guess just the society we live in and then having a co-working space that was open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I have been wired to think during those hours, I need to be on. And understanding and learning more examples of how other people run their businesses and learning it's okay to rest and recover and work at different hours just feels like we're allowed to make it up the way that we want to.
Do you ever sit and think that the lemon that made lemonade, the co-working space, was what you needed from listening to all the other community members talking about
Mm,
their entrepreneurial solo journeys that helped you like get it and that confidence to be like, all right, like I get the
yeah.
business side. I'm grasping
Yeah.
that. I need to bring that portion of me back in. And it's because of those.
Yes. I mean, I often ask myself too, sometimes like the lessons I've learned and, growing up, I'm like, is this because of the people I have in my life? Is it because of the specific age that I'm at? Is it because of what's going on in society, in the world right now? But I think it's like silly to say that having all of the entrepreneurs in my community for now until all eternity, hasn't had a positive impact in the way I think, in the way I make decisions. Actually, quarterly now, me and a couple of other small business owners who I all met through Make Lemonade, we still meet up, and it's part friend time, but part business time. And they are some of my biggest supporters, and it's so supportive to have other like-minded people who are running a business in some shape or form to help you kind of just push through some of the bullshit too, give
Oh
you
yeah.
perspective, all those things.
I love it. So you
Hmm.
mentioned earlier about your parents also
Hmm.
being entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
So give a little bit of background on that.
Yeah, so that has definitely been like a huge driving force in decisions I've made and just growing up, I always knew I wanted to do something for myself. It's probably the reason why my brother is an entrepreneur as well. Um, but yeah, so my parents ran a completely different business. They had an automotive factory. They built, like physically built a factory and employed over 150 people.
Holy
It was,
cow.
yeah, a totally different business. But they afforded my brother and I a life that showed us a different way of living and help kind of just set a great standard, sometimes a little bit difficult, but they obviously allowed us to dream big for ourselves too.
Yep.
And my parents, around the time that I was opening, I think it was about a year before I opened Make Lemonade, is when they actually sold their business after 33 years. And it's not like they got to that stage of, having a factory and employing all these people on day one or even by year 10. It took them a long time to get to where they were. But I've gotten so much advice and a lot of built-in mentorship by having them in my corner. But one of my favorite stories that I love to hear or like love to share about my parents' business is so, like I said, it was an automotive manufacturing company. So that meant they made brake lights and headlamps and that kind of thing. And I worked every different position there on the line on Christmas breaks, summer breaks, that kind of thing from
You go. That's awesome.
it was a great way to learn how to get up early and also it really helps me in floristry too because working on an assembly line it's allowed me to think very efficiently about the way I move forward. But my parents didn't start there. They actually started with selling fruitcakes. It was like a company where I guess you bought like the pre-made fruitcakes and you would go to door and sell these fruitcakes. And,
They
they,
sold fruitcakes
yes,
door to door.
yes. And things
That's
evolved
amazing.
into an automotive manufacturing company. Um, and what I love, and that was something that really helped me, help ground me during the time of me realizing like, I got to change my business model. Like, this isn't working for me anymore. And thinking, oh my gosh, like I run a community, I run a physical space, I run an online community for women in business. And now I want to be a florist. Like, this doesn't make any sense. And realizing like I was in my fruitcake phase and understanding it's
Yeah.
okay, you're allowed to evolve and things can change. And that gave me so much confidence and just like again like permission, like it's okay to be in this messy space. You are going to figure it out and move and evolve, and also help me understand like this is where I am now. I'm probably going to evolve again.
I hope
That's
so. I hope
yeah.
so. We all want to keep on evolving.
Hmm.
But that is, it's true. I think that a lot of times, like when people are feeling the turmoil and the
Hmm.
discomfort in what they are doing
Hmm.
and are starting to thinking about adding or following in other footsteps and like opening up
Hmm.
something new, whatever it may be, they are so apprehensive of doing it. And it's like you got to be true to yourself
Hmm.
first. Like that
Hmm.
is like first and foremost. You have to be true to yourself and your aspirations. You feel like it's wrong and you're not achieving what you're supposed to achieve because of all the outside noise that is probably not even there.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, we make it up.
Yeah.
I think it's not unfounded that this information is in our brain, right? We are getting all sorts of mixed messaging from social media or however we are ingesting outside information. We are not like we are a result of the society that we live in. So I
Yes.
think it is okay to have conflicting messaging, but it's, I guess, our duty to learn how to filter through all of this and understand what is true for us.
Hmm.
And it is much easier said than done, which is, again, goes back to why it is so important to take care of ourselves and understand that rest and rejuvenation are an integral part of our business operations.
I agree completely.
Hmm.
Rachel, thank you so, so much. So if
Absolutely.
anybody wants to follow your journey, order your
Hmm.
services, how can they go about doing it?
So I'm on Instagram at Make Lemonade Co. And I share sporadically there on Instagram. Otherwise, my website is makelemonade.ca.
I love it. Thank you so
Mhm.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening in to The Seed. If you'd like to receive our weekly newsletter, go to Dandelion-Inc.com and click Let's Connect. And please be sure to subscribe to the Seeds podcast to hear more inspiring stories from other badass women that are all around us. Remember, behind every woman is a tribe of other successful women who have their back. To you all, thank you.